Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is Spirit Wisdom Wednesday, where we gather here together in the healing space and allow some beautiful spirit wisdom to flow through. If you are new to me, because it is a new year, hi, my name is Meredith, and this is my heart-centered business called the Healing Hummingbird, where I love to help healers, givers, maybe even some of you who identify as overgivers, or spiritual go-getters, to help them receive healing themselves, because so many times people who are energetically aligned with that end up getting used to giving to others. So I help them actually receive healing themselves and embody the beautiful energy of the hummingbird spirit, which is all about a brave heart and lightness of being and joyfully fulfilling their spiritual purpose. It's been a while. How are you? I've missed you so much. Dawn is here. Awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. I know we had a little bit of a late start. Y'all, Mercury retrograde has been getting to me. I got this new really nice light stand, and it took me a minute. I had practiced with it, but for some reason, it just didn't want to do the thing. So thank you for your patience. And what Spirit mainly wanted to talk about was a personal new year and what that means, and how sometimes it doesn't line up with the calendar we use nowadays. So let's go ahead and start with that. There's another topic they want me to talk about a little bit later. So just know that this time is going to be kind of like a twofer as far as the beginning section, when we just kind of channel messages from Spirit. So as far as a personal new year, I'm sure all of you know it is technically 2022, but if you're anything like me, I still feel like it's 2021. And it's because of personal patterns that I'm working through in my own life. I felt like this last year, which is why Spirit wanted me to talk about it this year, because I've had a couple years of awareness to observe this. Now, I wasn't really consciously thinking of this, but I did realize that Chinese New Year's is going to be next month, or maybe even next week, really soon. And it could be something like that from a past life. If you're anything like me, I've had a lot of past lives, and it could be that you've had more past lives in a different culture than your current life, where you are right now. So right now, I'm American. Most Americans celebrate with watching the ball drop on New Year's Eve in New York City. They might drink champagne. I just don't really vibe with that anymore. And I don't know, it feels better to me to honor the cycles that are going on in my personal life. And this is kind of going to connect to what else Spirit wants me to talk about. But the end of my 2021 involved some loss and some challenges, and I'm still dealing with that right now. So if you are energetically connected to me and you're dealing with the same thing, my heart truly goes out to you, because this has been tough. It's been some thick energy to work through, work with, and transform. So that's still happening for me. I actually got laid off about a week and a half ago. I was informed that it was effective immediately. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, I felt like something was going to happen, but Spirit wasn't telling me exactly what it was going to be. But I knew, just based on the way things were being shifted in my life, I felt like a challenge was going to come, and this is what it was. So it's like processing just a little more grief for the end of 2021, so that I can have a fresh start for 2022. So that's kind of how they wanted to wrap up a personal New Year's, is that it has to do with what you are dealing with, and also with the entire history of your soul. I mean, your soul is pretty old. It's gone through a lot of different lives. So if the current New Year's is not working out for you, just know that you may feel a sudden like flip, or like a switch of new, fresh energy, maybe even next month if you're like me. And so Spirit wants to talk also today about grief and specifically about emotional grief. It's something that I've had a lot of opportunities to process in my current lifetime. So it's something that they wanted me to kind of open up about. And specifically with emotions, it can feel really uncomfortable, right? And it feels specifically for divine feminine. If you have been perceived as feminine throughout your life, you could feel, and this goes the same for masculine too, but specifically for feminine, and the emotion of anger, I think, has a really interesting relationship, at least the way I have personally experienced it throughout maybe childhood or, different teachers. It's really memorable if someone makes you feel like you can't be angry, or you can't be sad, or you can't be anxious, or whatever it is. It's like, especially for feminine people, for people who identify as feminine or are perceived as feminine, it feels like we have this extra pressure on ourselves to not be angry, or to be really in control, or, mother other people. There's just a lot of expectations there. And it feels like if you do express anger, it's almost, there's like this danger of feeling like, well, I don't want them to think I'm a bitch or that I'm crazy. And that just has nothing to do with anything. I think it's some crappy cultural stuff that's going on, to just be totally honest with you. And I just really wanted to talk to you today about anger, because that is the last step of my personal grief. I'm grieving this job, which was the backbone of a life that I was building, which is now just kind of like ripped out from under me, right? I'm like, oh man, I need to replan a bunch of stuff. But first I was feeling pretty down and depressed for a while. And now it has turned to anger / acceptance. I'm like right on that cusp. And something that a therapist told me a really long time ago is that depression is anger turned inward, which for me was just like a total revelation. At the time, I had no idea. I had been starting to see her because I was feeling really depressed. This was a pretty long time ago. But as I was working through it, I started to feel really angry, and I didn't know why. And I came to her and I was like, we were doing our check-in, and I'm like, I'm just really pissed and I don't know why. And she was like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. You're not turning it inward anymore. You're not doing that self-destructive thing. You're able to turn it outward and actually sit with it, which I had never heard before. And so if you're here and you feel like either other people or you have censored your feelings to appear a certain way, I just want to let you know that I love you and I'm okay with your anger. I think it's okay to be angry. I think it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. The only lines that could be crossed there, where I think is why other people might be reactive towards it, is, of course, you never want to turn that on someone else. You never want to hurt somebody else or take it out on anybody else. But if you're able to really get to the point where you are identifying and embracing what your emotional body is feeling, to me, in my personal experience, that's extremely healthy and helpful as well. Because if you just find in your normal day-to-day life that you start feeling angry, it's a tool. That's a sign that you're experiencing something that needs to be worked out and healed, and also that changes may need to be made. So that's definitely something that Spirit wanted me to share. They're also talking about generational patterns and how that could influence your perception of a certain emotional state, and to be really loving with yourself and with others if you notice this reactionary thing going on. So a great example would be, let's say I'm talking to my mom and I'm starting to get really honest with her, and I'm like, I'm just really angry about this, and I start getting worked up. I might notice in her a reaction where I'm feeling like she's worried about what might happen next. And this is just totally an example. That could come from a person's past, right? It could come from something they've personally experienced. And it could be something that we're not thinking of consciously, but something that's just kind of like tripped, right? Like, oh, now I'm not sure what this person's going to do, because there could be a child inside of you who is used to an angry parent, an angry spouse, someone who is destructive or who creates a situation that you feel unsafe in. So that's just another layer of this that Spirit wants me to talk about, just acknowledging that these are very complex things that we're dealing with, and to show yourself some love and grace as you are wading through the waters of grief, wading through the murky waters of whatever your emotional body is purging, whether that needs to be depression for a minute, whether it needs to be anger for a minute. As long as you're not sitting in it for too long, it is totally, absolutely necessary. I truly, very deeply believe that. And one other thing they wanted to remind me to say is that it's like you're given this opportunity when you're experiencing something tough. Like, I'll use myself as an example. My whole life changed over the course of a 5-minute Zoom meeting. I learned that I was no longer employed and had no severance or like nothing. It was just all gone. It's like you get to make a choice. Am I going to emotionally deal with this right now, allow myself to feel it right now, or am I going to go into survival mode and kind of stuff it down? Those are the choices. Neither one is right or wrong, but Spirit's saying, please know that if we are denying something, we'll carry it. We'll just carry it. I mean, maybe even for years, until it needs to come out. It will come out eventually. So I'm a fan of just feeling things as they come. But, you know, I'm a fire sign, so it could be that and that's just your ego. So it could be on an ego level, I might be more comfortable with anger than some people are. But again, as long as it's not really being absorbed as like a personality trait, like, as long as it doesn't become part of your identity, it's just something that needs to be experienced for a season of your life, and then we can let it go and move on. So I don't know why Spirit wanted to bring that up. Maybe there's even more people in my circle than I realize that are dealing with this at the same time that I am. But again, if you are one of those people, my heart really goes out to you. I love you. And if you ever need to talk about it, I am here for you as a friend. So Dawn says, yes, anger has been difficult for me too. Yes, I feel that as well. It's been challenging in a couple relationships when I was really young. I had some partners that were, that would become scary to me. So yeah, I feel like that too. I feel like I denied anger for a really long time. And for me personally, it became depression. But thank God I had an amazing therapist. Her name's Mo, in case she ever watches this. I still think of you, and I'm so grateful for you. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our week ahead readings. So I will invite you as usual to tap into your heart space here. And Spirit wants to invite you to meet yourself wherever you're at today. If you're not feeling awesome, that's fine. If you're feeling great, that's fine too. So let's invite our guides into this space now. And take a couple deep breaths together. Let's inhale in and exhale out. Really feeling into your current state. Just asking, holding the question, which group holds my message? They want to keep it really general. I used to do a week ahead, but this feels maybe like a bigger message. So just which group is for me? You may hear, feel, see, or know that it's 1, 2, or 3. Or you may feel drawn to one of the flowers that Spirit has picked out for us today. So for group number 1, we have this beautiful sunflower. Group number 2, we have a peach carnation. That might read a little more orange on the camera. And for group number 3, we have these red mini roses. Okay, so we should have our groups chosen. If you chose the sunflower, then you are in group number 1. Let's go ahead and get your message. As usual, I'll start with tarot, and then I have a couple guidance decks here to kind of clarify the messages. All right, so for group number 1, Spirit, what do they need to know? For the highest good of all, what messages would you like to give for group number 1 with the sunflower? It feels like you might be seeking warmth or seeking optimism. They're talking about how the sunflower turns its face towards the sun. So you might literally be cold. I know for some of us, it's pretty cold right now. So if you're seeking warmth, Spirit wants to support you in doing that. Maybe some hot tea would be helpful. Maybe some herbal tea. There's also something about a detox coming through for group number 1. So let's see what we have for tarot. Okay, first out we have the 8 of Swords. And then the Hanged Man. And lastly, 10 of Coins. Wow. Okay. So for group number 1, they want to focus in on the middle here with the Hanged Man. This usually indicates a sort of forced pause. So you might be in a similar situation to me, maybe not something as severe as a layoff, but something that kind of makes you take a break in action. So maybe something has recently happened to you like that. But what the Hanged Man is doing is inviting you to use this time to change your perspective about something. This is definitely about turning inward. Look at her toes here too. So yeah, again, that message about seeking warmth. Your guides want to let you know that they hear you and are definitely supporting you in doing that. Whether that's physical warmth or like optimism, like emotional health. Your guides are definitely assisting you with doing that. In the past position, we do have the 8 of Swords here, which is the card of, to really distill it down, it's almost like self-imprisonment or self-limiting beliefs. So it could have been that you were in a position where you felt like you had no way out, or you just couldn't figure out what to do next. But now you have this break, this time to really change your perception. And in the future position, you're moving into the 10 of Coins, which is amazing. I love that for you. This is about not just like regular money. This is about big money. This is about big investments, generational wealth, having enough wealth to freely share with other people. So if this is about career or money, this is an amazing message for you, group number 1. Let's go ahead and get some guidance here. Actually, they want to start with this other deck, with the Lessons deck. They said, let's clarify what group number 1 is releasing. Okay. Awesome. It's almost like you were served a lesson of some sort. Or like me, an event, maybe something painful happened, and it's like you're digesting it, and Spirit wants to help you do that. Okay, for group number 1. Oh, for group number 1, we have denial. A lot of yellow here. There's a lot of solar plexus healing that's going on for you for group number 1. This card says, I acknowledge my fear, but I replace it with insight and awareness. I acknowledge my fear, but I replace it with insight and awareness. This is amazing. Okay, so this really does represent fear. And if we really observe this character on the card, they can stand up. They can stand up and leave. They feel like they can't. So this is what you are coming out of. And then insight and awareness is what's coming in currently. You might be working on releasing certain blocks that might be specifically in your solar plexus. So it could be like poverty mindset, worthiness. You might be consciously working on that. If that's the case, Spirit is applauding you and so proud of you. I'm hearing, and I'm seeing like these big yellow fireworks. So I feel like you have a lot of help on the other side with this type of healing. And just know, so they're saying, if this is something that has come up over and over and over again, so for an example, if it's poverty mindset and it keeps coming up, Spirit's saying this is a big one. If you work with us one more time to release it, it really is going to be released, and all this wealth is going to come in for you, which is amazing. Also, the number 10 is signaling the end of a cycle. So that just supports that message that Spirit gave us. So let's get some final advice, final messages for group number 1 with the sunflower, with the animal spirit deck. No cards have come out yet, but I'm already seeing birds. So you might see some bird messengers. You might even find feathers. Ooh, okay, so they're showing me, I don't know if you have these in your area, group number 1, but they're showing me a goldfinch. And they're really beautiful. They're bright yellow birds, and they fly like this. So there is this invitation, and it feels like you're saying, I know, girl. But there's this invitation to flow through with the energy, to flow with Spirit. Acknowledging that energy does ebb and flow, and that you have a lot of support in doing that. Stop it. You got the hawk. Amazing. Look at this yellow ring. Enforcing your solar plexus healing, and the bear. More yellow. It's all about the yellow for you. Okay. So the hawk in this reading, and most of the time, for me, is Spirit, your spirit guides specifically saying, hey, it's time to talk. We want to talk to you about something. So if you're not having your typical meetings, or, you know, if you're going through something challenging, maybe we need to talk to Spirit in a different way than usual, that is fine. But Spirit's saying we really need to talk to you. So keep a lookout for your birds, for your feathers, for your messages. And with the bear talks about family, maybe some mama bear energy here. So there may be something coming up either with your own mother to heal, or mother's side, or even children, because this came out right underneath the 10 of coins, which again is generational health. And then we have family healing. So this block, whatever you're healing, let's say it's poverty mindset, for an example, it appears that the work you're doing is generational and something that you have inherited. So if it comes with shame, and sometimes things like that do, like for example, if you're healing like an addiction pattern, that can have a lot of shame in it. But Spirit wants to remind you that it's not your fault, and to not be ashamed of yourself once you start working through this emotionally. And just know that, and they're saying almost compare shame to another emotional state that's more familiar, like sadness or something like that. Just know that it's momentary, that it will pass, just to not let it make decisions for you. Interesting. So much going on with the solar plexus, which has all to do with your self-worth, with making decisions, feeling that you're worthy, and loving yourself. So those were your messages for those of you who chose group number 1 with the sunflower. Also, sunflower seeds might be helpful for you. So maybe there's, oh my gosh, my hair's crazy. Maybe there's some kind of nutrient in sunflower seeds that you might need. I think even the goldfinch that they showed me eats sunflower seeds. So I think that's a final message for you, group number 1. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that resonated, and I will see you next time. Okay, for those of you who chose group number 2 with the peach carnation, let's go ahead and get your messages. Okay. They're really talking strongly about the chakras this week. So for group number 2, they're talking about the sacral chakra and also comparing it to a flame. So you might be either feeling really fiery, or you might have significant fire placements in your chart. Let's go ahead and see what the tarot has to say. For group number 2 with the peach carnation, Spirit, what would you like them to know? What do they need to know for their highest good? Let's get some helpful messages for group number 2. I'm hearing patience. Okay. What else for group number 2? Okay. One more, please, Spirit. One more card for group number 2. It feels like the moon might be significant for you. So I know that Spirit just reminded you of patience. So if you're waiting for something to happen, take a look at the moon cycles. That might be significant for you in whatever you're waiting for or dealing with. Okay, so first out we have the Page of Cups. Let's make sure that the camera can pick that up. Okay. And the 7 of Coins. Look at all that fire. And the 4 of Cups. Okay. So for group number 2, let's talk about where you're at currently. So in the center, we have the 7 of Coins. In the traditional imagery, there is a person who is looking at their crops on the ground and who is growing impatient. So you might be feeling impatient, which is interesting that Spirit already brought up that word, impatience. So it's like you've invested your time, you've invested your money in something, but maybe it's like I'm hearing somebody say, I thought there would be more going on by now, but there's not. And how much longer is this going to take? So I'm feeling that frustration for you, group number 2. That seems to be the energy that you're sitting in right now. With the energy in the past position, you have the Page of Cups. And then there's a lot of connection again to moon energy. And I'm hearing that it might be helpful for you to take a look at your moon sign. So there might be something that you're emotionally dealing with. But this would concern, with the Page of Cups, an idea that you had, an idea that you dreamed up and wanted to manifest, something that meant a lot to you emotionally. So that's the subject of the reading, just to kind of clarify. Again, moving into the present, it feels like things have not progressed as fast as you wanted them to yet, or as far as you wanted them to yet. And then where we're headed in the future is the 4 of Cups. Interesting. So this is a good place to get advice, because the 4 of Cups is usually an indication of dissatisfaction or boredom with what you currently have. Like this person is just looking at their 3 cups. They have no idea that something different is being offered to them back here. So let's get some advice about how group number 2 can make sure to not miss this opportunity. It feels like you're going to be offered a new way to take another step forward that you're totally not aware of right now. It almost feels like divine intervention. So how can we clarify this for group number 2, Spirit? What advice do you have to offer them for the highest good for group number 2? Wow, you have success. It says, I know there is no greater goal than to love. Okay, this is a really big message for you, group number 2. You have 2 cup cards, and you have another card that specifically mentions love. So a good meter for you to pay attention to is how happy you're feeling. So really pay attention to how you are truly feeling in your heart when you're alone. If you allow yourself to be still and very quiet and really observe how you're feeling, if you are feeling fulfilled, if you are feeling hopeful and full of love, that is a great indication that you are on the right track and that success is coming for you. That is amazing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get the messengers, animal messengers for group number 2, because we asked for advice and they were like, success. So let's see if the animal messengers can give us more advice. Okay, advice for group number 2, please, Spirit. I'm noticing a lot of warm colors here in your cards, in your tarot cards, group number 2. So you might have been drawn to 1 and 2, which that totally happens. Sometimes you have a few messages. Okay. All right. So we have the cosmic egg and the tiger. Speaking of Chinese New Year, it is going to be the year of the tiger. So I feel like something is going to really shift for you around that Chinese New Year. Please look that up. That's a whole nother realm of astrology as well. Based on your birth year, you have an animal and also an element. I think I am, what am I? Metal snake? Wooden snake? I don't remember. I know I'm snake. It was almost horse. But anyway, look that up. And especially because there's a moon on here as well. You're really connected to moon energy and your moon sign. I feel like there's some work for you to do, or some help rather, for you to receive through astrology. It feels like that's really helpful for you. With the cosmic egg, this is an incredible message of completion. This is the last card in this deck. And it has to do with the crown chakra. So definitely pay attention to your heart space. If you can, make time to tap into that every single day to just kind of monitor how you're feeling. I feel like you might receive messages emotionally, if that makes sense. So you might be an empath. You might even be a channeler. So it may be something that you're not realizing. And they want me to go ahead and light some holy wood for you as well. So it feels like you might need to do some emotional clearing. Maybe look into energy healing. That is really helpful for releasing heavy emotional states like anger, like grief, sorrow, fear, anything like that. It feels like maybe the fight, flight, or freeze reflex needs to be reset for you. So if you could just breathe into that for me here. Go ahead and put your hands kind of right below your belly button on that sacral center. And just do some deep breathing. I'm going to light some holy wood for you and hold space for you to clear that right now, group number 2. Okay, that's going to allow you to be able to perceive this opportunity once it comes through. Again, some clues are the Chinese Lunar New Year. It could happen around that time. And it is just going to be very, very successful for you. This card, in my opinion, is kind of like the World card in tarot. So it indicates a lot of success and a lot of things being wrapped up in a beautiful bow. Okay, so those were your messages. If you chose number 2 with the peach carnation, I'm sending you so much love and light. And thank you so much for watching. Okay, last but not least, group number 3, if you chose the mini red roses, let's go ahead and get your messages. Okay, for group number 3, it feels like there's this sense of urgency with time. You might be feeling pressured to get something done by a certain time or make a choice by a certain time. Okay. Yeah, there's this sense of urgency with group number 3. You might be dealing with something a little more serious than the previous groups. So like a big choice is coming up. Okay, let's see what's going on for group number 1. Right, one more. Or I said group number 1. I'm sorry, group number 3. Ooh, okay. So for group number 3, we have the Queen of Cups. Love her. We have the 6 of Cups. And we have the Devil. Okay, so I'm already hearing the alarm bells going off for you. Like, what does that mean? So let's go ahead and talk about the Devil. So what does the Devil mean in the tarot? It usually depicts two people who are, they appear to be shackled together, but if you look closely, they can undo the rope and they can walk away. So it's like a feeling of enslavement, to kind of really simplify it. So this could have to do with addiction. It doesn't even have to be like alcohol or drugs. It could be food addiction or unhealthy patterns, maybe unhealthy sleeping patterns, things like that. It could have to do with a toxic relationship. Yeah, that's all they want me to say. Okay, great. So they wanted me to clarify that for you right away, because in this deck, there is some pretty strong energy going on there. So it's like, this really feels to me like you are facing that. So if this is the right group for you, based on what I just said, you would know exactly what I'm talking about, because you're facing it. You're looking right into the eyes of it and saying, I know this is a problem and I'm ready to change it. So good for you. Interesting. Your layout is different from everybody else's. So usually they do a past, present, and future. Yours is just like, this is what this person is dealing with. So you are being depicted as the Queen of Cups. This is someone who's very intuitive. You might even be a water sign. This is someone who's very loving, very emotionally generous with people. You would be a great listener. And I'm hearing that you're great at attracting love, or just that a lot of people love you. A lot of people can feel these qualities about you and are really attracted to you. You might also be asked to mediate situations and conversations. You know how to deliver not so great news in a way that doesn't completely destroy someone. And in the middle here, between these two very strong cards, you have the 6 of Cups. I might even get a little more clarity for you, group number 3. I think you've got a lot going on here. So with the 6 of Cups, this usually talks about something from childhood, from a friend from the past, some kind of friendship. This could even be siblings, something that was really, really sweet. So there could be somebody that is coming back into your life, wanting to reconnect with you. Let me get some clarity here. Okay. What is group number 3 dealing with, Spirit? What do you want to talk to them about for their highest good? Could you clarify this situation for us? Okay, we have the Hierophant. This talks about structure. So this could talk about like a church or an institution, maybe even the government. Or even like a family tree, if family is really, really strong for you. Okay, and then the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so there's something karmic that you are dealing with. It feels like you are ending a cycle that you are observing as destructive, but it feels like the people that are involved in the situation don't understand that it is destructive. An example of this would be communication patterns in families. If you're in a family that stays silent about everything, it feels like you are the one who is going to stop that. The Queen of Cups knows how to deal with emotions. The Queen of Cups knows how to communicate and understands how karmically damaging it is to stay silent about things. That it just really, it creates some ugly karma. And so it feels like you really have a divine purpose here. And look at all these major arcana cards that you have. It's like you're intercepting this negative cycle. You're creating new foundation, new hope with the Hierophant. You might even be seeking help to do this, to turn the wheel in your favor. But look at all this webbing behind you. It's not just about you. It's about generations. So it feels like you are the healer in your lineage. I know this is a huge message for you, but that is what Spirit wants to talk to you about. So let's get some advice, group number 3. You've got a lot to deal with here. And again, they want to reiterate, if this is not making sense for you, this is probably not your group. If this message is for you, you are going to know it. You are probably going to feel it. Like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what they're talking about. Okay. And we have relationships. Beautiful. And they're echoing again that imagery of the webbing that was present in the Wheel of Fortune. And it says, I am attracted to those people who serve my higher good. Okay. And you can't see it, and I'm not going to go get it, but there's another card that flew across the room that says loneliness. So this could be a family pattern that you are observing, either in people in your generation or around your generation. It's like, to avoid being alone, they will manifest any relationship in order to be in a relationship. Or they stay in relationships that are not good for them, for religious reasons, or they feel obligated to have children or something. There's some kind of broken idea here where a lot of people are hurting. And it has to do with prioritizing relationships over everything. So that seems to be the cycle that's going on, that's creating this toxic dynamic. You are definitely an outlier in this. You might have even gotten some heat from these people over like not having a partner or not doing whatever they typically do. So you might have stayed single for a while or not gotten married or, you know, lived with someone instead of getting married, and Spirit wants to support you and they want to acknowledge how difficult that is to not have the same support that you were used to having growing up. And look at this, we have the crow on top. The crow for me talks about ancestors. So I feel like ancestors in your lineage that have passed on to the spirit realm are definitely aware of this issue and are helping you to heal this issue. So know that even though this is huge, this is a huge subject, you are definitely not alone. So let's go ahead and get some last advice for group number 3. As they are healing a huge root issue in their lineage. They are stopping a cycle, which is amazing. What else, Spirit? What else to help and support group number 3 as they deal with this? It does specifically feel like romantic relationships because group number 3 had the red rose. So they wanted to acknowledge that. They're confirming again that this has happened many times, that this is definitely a long cycle. because of the mini roses, it's like they each signify, you know, it's not just one rose, it's many. So this has happened many times. Okay. One more animal messenger to support group number 3. What do we have? We have the swan. I love that. And the nightingale. I don't see the nightingale very often. Look at how beautifully these cards match you. So remember how this is you, you're the queen. Look at these colors. It feels like part of your purpose, or maybe you've identified this. Either way, they're saying it's the purpose anyway. Just say it. I'm like, okay, I'm overcomplicating it. Sorry. But it's like you are here in this family to tell the truth, to specifically express the truth out loud. It feels like that has been a real challenge for the more recent generation. So maybe like your parents and grandparents, it feels like maybe there's a blockage there that you're helping to release and heal. With the swan, look at the mirroring going on in this image. So again, they're talking about your perspective, how clear your perspective is, and to not feel self-conscious, because it feels like what you are seeing, other people are denying. And that's just, you know, that happens. When something's going on that is hard to deal with, it's easier to deny that it's happening. Right? So that's just kind of like a symptom of the problem that's already present. So that's not your fault. So Spirit wants to support you, saying that your perception is very clear, that you are definitely here to help get to the depth and the root of this issue. It almost feels like you've been aware of this for a long time, but you're not sure what to do. It feels like people are going to come to you. It feels like people are going to approach you about this. So if this is family members, they will eventually realize the cycle they're perpetuating, and they will realize that you are so different, that you are not part of that cycle, and they will naturally approach you. They will naturally approach you. Okay, so if that has been a question, like, what do I do? How do I heal this? You don't have to do anything besides be you, to just be yourself and shine your light, even if it's different than what people around you are reflecting back to you. It's actually really important for you to be different in this situation. And then with the nightingale, this is almost like, okay, so this is, people will be attracted to you. People in your experience will come to you because they will see that you reflect the truth, okay? That you are a clear picture. Once they have come to have a conversation with you saying, you know, I don't know why I'm drawn to talk to you about this, but I feel like I can trust you, then it's time for the Nightingale song. Then it's time for the Queen of Cups, that's you, girl, to come out and to have a loving conversation with you. So it's not the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is all about a frank conversation. This is a loving conversation. Very loving conversation. It feels like you might have even been studying something about this type of communication, maybe like emotional support. It feels like this is something you have personally worked on for yourself. You could have even thought, there's no way my other family members would ever be open to this. So this might shock you that people start to approach you about this, but they just see you as this beacon of emotional health and of light, because you really are. You're just this ball of love. And my heart really goes out to you because it feels like being so different from your family or from your group of friends has been painful at times. And I know what that's like too. So having a heart-to-heart with you right now, but Spirit just wants to uplift you and celebrate you because you're here. This is really, really important for your lineage. And so they really want to applaud you and support you and help keep you grounded specifically during this process. So I'm really noticing a lot of turquoise and a lot of red. So make sure to stay grounded through your root and to keep that throat chakra open. I can almost feel it like wanting to close because it hurts to talk about it. But Spirit's saying that's just kind of part of the experience. It's part of what you inherited. It's not your fault. So just something to be aware of. Drink plenty of water. Since you are the Queen of Cups, you need your water. Okay, so those were your messages. If you chose the red roses in group number 3, I'm sending you so much love and light. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay, let me check in. I know I have a couple ladies with me here. Oh, Janine says, I've been forced to pause for over a month now. Oh, that must have been the Hanged Man coming out to talk to you. Dawn says, love these animals. Wow, yes, that deck is, this is what the front looks like. This deck is always amazing, always amazing. Okay, group 3 to a lesser degree. Yep, cards often fly out across the room. Yes. Janine says, you are so amazing. Oh, thank you so much. There's so much that you've shared that really resonates with me. Thank you for affirming that. Sometimes, most of the time, I'll tell you, when you channel messages, you just have no idea how it's going to land. Sometimes Spirit's like, they will give you half of a sentence before the end of a sentence. So you don't even really know what you're going to say, whether it's going to land or not. So thank you so much for affirming that that did resonate for you. That really means a lot to me. And for those of you who are left, I'm going to announce something more concrete next week. But before I took a break, I had mentioned doing things a little bit differently. And so they want me to talk about that a little bit. So instead of doing the same exact reading every single week, we're still going to do, me and my spirit guides, we're still going to do weekly content at the same time, 7 p.m. EST, but they want to expand how the messages are delivered. So something that they've pitched to me is opening a group that is connected with my business page to kind of create a more private space. And so maybe one of the weeks out of the month, I'll do private live readings. So we'll experiment with that. I think this situation, like the group readings that are live, that might be helpful once a month. But I also want to incorporate like group energy healings into that. Top-down readings so you can really see the cards very clearly. Even a couple readings that are really, really quick, even like 1 minute long for, like a daily message. Spirit's saying we need to change up the duration that things are just because we need different things at different times. So let me know if that resonates. Let me know if you have any ideas. It's something that they have not revealed to me completely just yet. I know what a couple of them are. But yeah, every week is going to be a little bit different, but we're still going to do I'm still going to connect with you once a week and live at least once, maybe twice a month. So with that, I will go ahead and let you enjoy your evening. Thank you so much for showing up for me, and just know that I love you, and there's been a lot going on, a lot of grief going on that we're all dealing with in different ways. So I am here to support you. Spirit is here to support you. I'm sending you tons of love and light, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.